Hey, this is Kelsey Mackey, and this is Kels Not Chels Not Live First Thoughts. So I'm trying something new with my microphone. I'm using my Yeti so that it doesn't sound so bad. I'm not recording into the cameras on my computer. I'm optimistic that this will sound so much better. I am excited to talk to you today. Maybe excited isn't quite the right word. I am eager to talk to you today because I do have several things that have been on my mind. I know that there are lots of you who are followers here that also follow me on Instagram, but there's still a good chance that several of you missed my Instagram stories from a week or so ago when I was talking a little bit about being a creative person who deals with mental health issues occasionally or frequently in life. And I was talking a little bit about my experience with depression and how that plays into my role as a maker of things. So I wanted to do a first thoughts video, which if you're new around here, videos like this, first thoughts, as I call them, are designed to be easier for me to edit because I'm basically just talking live and I'm not doing my typical polished production, which I really like. This is sort of a different thing. This is just me talking and being a little less worried with making everything perfect. It's more just me sharing what's on my heart, and maybe that comes out exactly right the very first time, and maybe it doesn't. So last week I realized, well, let me back up a little bit. So I have been struggling personally for a while, longer than I realized. I kind of thought that I had just been bummed in January because January was just sort of a weird month for me, and it wasn't that new year, like gung-ho, good vibes, feeling locked into my mission and purpose. It wasn't the kind of January that I usually have. And I felt very strange about that, and I felt almost guilty about that. And I realized that that was unreasonable and unfair, and that that was a mental thing. My thoughts about January were my brain. So I realized that. But then I realized that I had been feeling out of step for far longer than just January, that it hadn't just been a few weeks, that separating that December and November are often weird because of holiday stuff. I'd been a little bit out of sorts and down and sad and depressed for several months of the fall before all that. So it occurred to me that I had been depressed, and I want to tell you right now that you do not have to be suicidal to be depressed. You do not have to be lying in your bed crying every single day, unable to move or go to work to be depressed. You do not have to be screaming and crying or pushing away everyone who loves you or being antisocial. You don't have to be anything specific to be depressed. You don't have to be this Lifetime movie version of depression to be depressed, okay? It is so important for you to know that your depression may not look like that. Your depression could look like apathy, a general lack of desire to do the things that you usually want to do. Your depression could look like disconnection from some people that are, usually bright spots in your life. Your depression could look like listlessness and a lack of ability to invest your time in the things that you usually do, or even your job or your hobbies. So depression, like all things, exists on a spectrum. And there is no reason for you, like me, to convince yourself that your depression is not real or not worthy of seeking help for, just because it's not on the farthest end of the extreme of what these issues might look like. Every single person is different, and every single person's depression is different. My depression often looks far more like the second version. It is about disconnection. It is about apathy. It is about a lack of depth in my connection with the people around me. Usually that is because of self-preservation. So I realized that I had been depressed, and I realized that I had been resistant to getting help because it didn't look the way that it does for some other people. I was speaking to my dear friend who is a clinical psychologist, and I was casually mentioning that, I've been in a rough spot for a while, and I really should probably I don't know, maybe I should talk to somebody again. Maybe I should go back to my therapist, or maybe I should get on an antidepressant again. And she just sort of didn't stop me, but she sort of just was like, yep, exactly. You should. Not maybe, definitely. This is a thing that is relatively easy to fix for you, Kelsey. You know that you've had great success in the past with both therapy and medication. There's no reason for you to continue to wait until things progress to the threshold of now you may go get help. It was such an eye-opening experience such an eye-opening conversation, because it was like a switch in my mind. I suddenly just realized oh yeah, I'm allowed to take action on this, even if it doesn't look, a certain way. And anyway, so I had that clarity, that moment of clarity. And that same day, I realized that we as creators so often buy into the creator culture, especially the creative thing as your job culture. We buy into the idea that the thing that you are making is the thing that you should never sacrifice. And that means that we treat the thing that we make, we treat the creative thing that we do like it's sacred, and that it's the one thing that we have to always preserve, and the thing that we always have to do, that we always have to have in our minds, that we should never take a break from, because we want people to know that the thing that we make is therapeutic and valuable and beautiful and heart connecting and emotional and an expression of our soul. And, we want our art to be capable of showing the good times and the bad times. And we want the thing that we make to express this wide range of experiences. And so we don't allow ourselves very frequently permission to say, my creative thing is a thing that I need to pause on for now. it is okay to take a break from your creative thing. Whatever that is, you're allowed to take a break from that. You do not have to push through whatever it is that you're dealing with to make your creative thing if you can't. If you can't well. If you can't without making yourself feel worse. And in my case, I am so hard on myself, and I really do expect so much from me. I expect so much from the things that I make, the things that I create, that I very, very rarely give myself the freedom to set the creative work aside. And because of that high expectation, a thing that makes me feel anxious, makes me feel worried about letting my viewership or my subscribers or my followers down, that I want the things that I make to bring value to their lives. So if I'm not making the thing, then I am not encouraging other people and supporting other people and lifting up other people and helping other people figure out how they can best do what they do, which is what I want my mission to be, right? So it's like, it makes me, sometimes the stuff that I'm creating, or in the case of like my book, sorry, my hair's wild. Or in the case of my book, like, I know that I have to finish my revisions in order to query this project, in order to find my next agent, in order to get my next book deal. So there's this pressure of like, you can't take a break from this, because you're not just taking a break from revisions or writing, you're taking a break from your entire publishing career. You're taking a break now because you feel sad. Oh, poor Kelsey, with a beautiful life, with no good reason to be depressed, right? With no good enough rationale for these feelings. You pausing your revisions right now means that you're taking a break from your entire publishing career. You're stopping the forward momentum of your dream. And we do this to ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves that our dream is priority number one over even our well-being, and that our dream, even as nebulous and abstract as that is, that our dream is the thing that always wins, and that stopping our dream is the one thing that we cannot do. And I realized that day that that's crap, and that I can absolutely take a break from my creative work, and that making the stuff that I make is better when I do it because I believe it and I want it and I feel it. And even if that's not the case, I still get to prioritize myself and my well-being over anything. And that is so hard in our culture for us to understand, because we are told that there are certain things that cannot come after us. We are told that we cannot put our spouses, our children, our families second. We are told that they have to be first. We are convinced by media and by the depictions of family in our society. We are shown that family comes first all the time. We are shown these characters that are so beloved, that are constantly self-sacrificing, and that's a thing that we all experience. We all do that occasionally. We all sacrifice ourselves sometimes. But it does not have to be your modus operandi. It does not have to be the norm. And if occasionally you have to put everything in your life after your well-being, that is okay. So I decided that I was going to give myself permission to step back creatively and take a break if I needed to, and if I wanted to, and if it was what I needed to do to get over this particular hump in my mental health journey, to deal with this particular span of depression, and to get things sort of leveled out and equalized or whatever. And the most interesting thing happened. When I gave myself that permission to take a pause if I needed to, I started to feel more free, and I started to feel like 1,000,000,000% less pressure. And I kind of didn't really end up taking a break at all, because it wasn't a break. It was, I'll work on this if I feel like it. I have permission not to work on it. And there was no pressure. And then I felt like working on stuff. So I did. And it just wasn't a big deal. So that's sort of where I am. I'm working as much as I want to, as much as I can, when I can, and that's good enough. That's not even just good enough. That's great. That's how it should be. So, above all, I want to leave you with this truth. Depression lies. Anxiety lies. Many of these most common mental health issues lie. They tell you that you cannot fix it. They tell you that you do not deserve support. They tell you that your experience is not justified. They tell you that you can't get to the other side of the next year, month, day, moment. They tell you that everything is awful and there's nothing that you can do to stop it except to worry, to be sad, to struggle. And that's a lie. There is brightness at the end of the tunnel, and there is after. There is an after. There's an after of that moment of sadness. There's a moment that comes after that. And sometimes it's a really long wait to get to the after. And sometimes to get to the after, you need outside help. You need professional help. You need medication. You need to be speaking with your doctor. You need to, occasionally, yeah, there are steps involved. But the very worst moments, in my experience, are never actually as permanent as they feel. And they seem permanent, for sure, but there's an after. So, thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you know that my heart is so open for you and that I care a great deal about you and your well-being and your ability to make with your whole being, with your whole heart. I hope that if you like this video and if you understand what I'm dealing with, that you will start a conversation with me here or on your social platform of choice. I hope that you will share this video with the people that you know need to hear it. And I hope that you will give yourself the grace that you need, that you deserve. So thank you so much for hanging out today, and I will see you very soon.